I want to tell you a story about a guy. Now, this guy doesn't go to our church. In fact, he doesn't live in our state. This guy works for campus ministry at Michigan State University. And over the last few years, he's been making it his practice every day to wake up, and one of the first prayers he prays is, God, lead me to the people today that you want me to bless with my life. And then he just goes out in his day, and he assumes that the God who said, if you ask me in faith, I'll answer that prayer, that everyone he meets is somebody God wanted him to bless. He prays this prayer, God, lead me to the people you want to bless with my life, and then he just assumes every single person that he meets is the person that God wanted him to bless. Well, he tells about a particular day when he was supposed to meet a person for a meeting they had scheduled, and then at just the last minute, the person canceled the meeting, and instead of doing what he would normally do, which is, answer some email or check out Facebook or, do something on his phone, listen to a podcast, instead of, in that moment, he decided that he would just pray. And what he prayed was, God, what do you want to do with these minutes that I now have available? And while he was sitting there praying this prayer, a name came to his mind, and the name was Janice. Now, he knew immediately who Janice was. He knew her from some other kind of encounters, and the idea, as he thought about Janice, the next thought that came to his mind is, you need to tell her how to follow Jesus. Now, you should know that Janice wasn't a part of the ministry he was a part of. In fact, Janice, he had just sort of met, and she wasn't a follower of Jesus. She had not been going to church. In fact, he knew her well enough, but not really that well. But because he had prayed the prayer, he decided to move in faith and assumed it was what God wanted him to do. So he called her and said, hey, you got time for a cup of coffee? And she said, sure. And so when they met for a cup of coffee, after they got their coffee and sat down, he said to her, hey, this may seem weird, but I had a few minutes and I was praying that God would use the minutes, and your name came to my mind, and the idea came to me that I was supposed to tell you how to follow Jesus. At which point, she began to cry. Now, ladies, if you don't know this, if you're ever with a man and you start to cry, all men have the same reaction, oh no, what did I do wrong? And really, in our head, it's like, danger, 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 I don't know what to do. And so he said, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so insensitive, and I know that was sort of abrupt. I'm sorry for being so direct on that. And she said, no, it's not that. I just can't believe you're here saying that. She said, last night, I wound up going to a Bible study, and the whole time I was at the Bible study, people were talking about following Jesus, and as I went home later, I realized I didn't know how to follow Jesus. I didn't even really know what it meant to follow Jesus. And so I couldn't sleep last night, and I was thinking about, I need to know how to follow Jesus. And so I just prayed, God, would you bring somebody to me to tell me how to follow Jesus? And then here you are. Isn't that amazing? Wouldn't you love to live that kind of life? Well, Dave says since he's been praying that kind of prayer, he doesn't have those kind of meetings all the time, but he says every day has not been the same old, do the same old thing in the same old way. That every day has become this adventure of interactivity with him and God, blessing people in his world.